Good morning, everyone. And here we are again.
Hello, everybody.
Or good evening, I should say as well. Good evening.
Well,
Good
evening,
evening.
yes.
Yes. This is where we are.
Where are we? I don't even know
That's
today.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Because what's interesting is that I seem to tune into these topics the day before and often wondering, my God, what are we going to talk about? And then it drops in. And then I message Rodine, how do you feel about this? And she goes, yes. And every morning when we have a quick debrief before we start, it's like we are going through something similar, considering we're in completely different parts of the world. I find it really fascinating.
I do too.
Mm, mm.
I do. But
So,
hey, it gives us stuff to talk about all the time. Hi, Pam.
I was just going to say hi, Pam. Great.
Woohoo.
With me on StreamYard. Hi, Dawn. Lovely to see you both. And today's topic is about how to be seen. We did say how to be heard through art, but you could always add seen. And
Yeah.
and as that was and as we were talking, we also thought about how to hear yourself through art as well. So it's about how no, I kept saying seen, so clearly I've already changed the topic to seen instead of heard, so I'm not even hearing myself. So I'm actually terribly discombobulated this morning. Anyone who's listening, I'm struggling with some deep emotions. I feel all over the place. So, and that's why these chats are real and raw and vulnerable. And because at the moment I would rather be under the duvet hiding and just not being seen. So, Rodine, you start the conversation today because I feel like I'm doing all the talking.
No, it's all good. Um, so being seen or heard through art, I just had in my head when what are we 3 seconds in now, and it's going to be totally not the topic we're starting with, which again is just what we do.
But that's exactly right.
Talking about being discombobulated and I had just told Pam, so we're just kind of in a similar place. So how do you, when you have emotions or you're going through something, for me this weekend, it was really hard for me to even put anything into a coherent thought for myself, because when something comes up, our initial reaction is to somehow fix it, do something, heal it, move it, whatever. And I really couldn't. I could not. It's like, okay, well, it's here. Awesome. So I'm just going to have to be a funky monkey for the weekend and carry on. But in those moments, I forget to go to my art, because I'm so conditioned to be painting typically for a purpose, right?
Yes.
And when you just said, so Chantal just said that she's just going to do her thing on the paper and kind of slap it all down and move it out,
Here we
right?
are. Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh yeah, I can do that too. Why do I not go there? Right? But this is where art or whatever it is that you do can be so fabulous, is because you can put it onto paper in our case, right? Put it onto paper, slap it down, make it what it is, let it be what it is, and just get it out. So but it's so bizarre to me. Ooh, that it's just so bizarre to me that I don't automatically go there. And I guess that shows a little bit of a block in myself, right? A little place that, or a big place maybe, that I need to let go a little better. I'm not
Yes.
good at letting go all the time.
No, neither am I. And listening.
No.
And Tammy, hi, Tammy, lovely to
Hi,
see
Tammy.
you. And Pam saying, in terms of thinking of being seen as in getting attention for business stuff. Yes, I agree there. I think this can be, as you said, taken
Too.
all the way through. because as I might have mentioned last time, I've started with my dear friend and who's helping me also, or supporting me with writing my memoir, Aunt. We've started to create a podcast and then a group called Hurt Not Heard. And I think that's also partly why the topic came up, because we often don't, well, not often, I know I've never felt heard in my life. And I think part of it was because not only did I not feel heard out there because I wasn't expressing myself, even though I thought I was, but I wasn't also hearing myself. So coming back to what you're saying, it's how can we hear ourselves in those moments? And like you said, just do art for art. I mean, I'm just scribbling here because what I'm doing at the moment while we're talking and sharing is I'm just literally, there's no purpose. Well, the purpose is just to do, as you said, without the perfection and without it needing to be anything other than these are my emotions at the moment, which is basically scrambled in my head, scribble, with color. But there can also be beauty in that when you look at it and go, oh, wow, so it's how can we, as you said, work with that,
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
sit with the discomfort or the pain, which is really difficult, and then show up where you feel safe. So here I feel safe. So even though we're public with this and it will go onto YouTube, and the people who are watching, I feel safe with you, that you hold me in the space, and vice versa. So I feel heard here.
Yeah. Yeah. I do too.
Which is
Otherwise,
really nice.
yes.
I
So,
think
nope, what were you going to say?
oh, gone out of my mind. I think so. I think it's because when I think back not only on my life, but just in general, being heard, we are somehow in our society, with, again, my opinion, I'd love anyone to share that, Paul, is we're so caught up in how we need to do things, perfection, stories, putting up appearances, that we actually don't hear what someone else is feeling, saying, experiencing, good, bad, or ugly. We don't hear it. And we want to gloss over these things because there's such a discomfort around that. And I think also, and this is what I've been finding more and more, is that as people, we want to fix things. We want to fix someone. We don't know how to stay with someone's pain or them with yours. We don't know how to, what they call in counts, listen actively, and just simply be present with that. Because I know I can still want to go and hug the person or make it better for them or take the responsibility of that when it's nothing to do with me. Just being there and hearing what they're saying, and then also hearing and listening to myself. How am I being with this person? Am I wanting to jump in? Am I waiting for that moment to give my opinion or advice?
Yeah.
And the person actually doesn't necessarily want that.
No. But then what do you do? They may not want that. But we do certainly, that the art, and I do think it's an art, the art of just being with someone as they, whatever, figure it out, or don't deal with it, or just to be with someone when they are that uncomfortable, for us, I think, can also be uncomfortable.
Exactly right.
Right?
Exactly right. That's it.
So then what do we do?
That's right. And that is a practice.
Because we feel like we have to do something.
Exactly right. And we do. And that's the whole thing. So I can always remember my supervisor or counselor, therapist and now supervisor, saying to me, Chantal, this is how she worked with me when I went in at the very beginning, when I was completely disassociated and disconnected. She said, all I needed to do was sit with you and listen to you. That was it. And I remember that so powerfully, that sometimes just being heard that's it, but that's everything. It's that simple yet that hard. Is how can we learn? Well, and I'm learning this more and more for myself and through obviously being with clients, is I don't sometimes need to do anything more than that.
Yeah.
is just because sometimes what I found is, and this is also again through the training, when you talk, when you feel heard, you then begin to have your own realizations, because that's what person-centered therapy is all about. The one that I particularly work with is they say you're your own expert, you know, but sometimes you need to verbalize it to start going, and then what she did was she said once she, because she's obviously very skilled and been doing this for years, when she knew, had a sense I was ready, then she could slowly start to give me more ideas of why, how, what, gentle challenges, gentle reframes, you know, but that was a process. But I knew when I went there, she would hear me and she wouldn't interject, she wouldn't judge.
Right.
You know, and I would walk out, and that sometimes like, oh, I could just share my deepest feelings of shame, pain, anger, without it having to be anything. I didn't have to sugarcoat it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that is a very powerful part of healing. So how can we do it as individuals, with friends or colleagues, or at work? Yes, you know, in that business stuff, as Pam's saying, you know, how can we be there for a colleague? And that's why I liked reading Brené Brown's Dare to Lead book, because I always love the words that she uses, rumbling with vulnerability.
Yeah, her language is fantastic.
It is, isn't it? You know, so how can you sit there and be vulnerable when someone's being vulnerable? That's my interpretation. That's my.
I was going to say practice, but of course, as a society, we're not very good at that, are we?
No. You mean the practice? No, like you meaning.
Well, the practice, but even having exposure to how to do that for someone.
Right.
Right?
That's exactly right.
This is just not something that is built into communication between people.
No, it isn't. And I think it isn't. You're right. And it's a practice, it's a skill, and it's a vulnerability, and people need to want to do it, you know. And I actually wonder sometimes if, and I'm thinking more and more now, they're called soft skills, that we need to actually really bring this into people's lives. Not sure how, but these soft skills of listening, empathy, understanding, or even just acceptance. And Pam, Pam, I'm really lucky. She's a great counselor. She's very well known here, and for her work here in Australia, Pam, and in the States. She's trauma aware with her own experience, and she's worked with she was an idiot teacher, but she's worked with children. She works with children, and she started all this to understand PTSD years ago with the RSL here, the defense, people come out of defense. So Pam, I'm really, really lucky to have met her, to have someone who was so informed, because a lot of professionals aren't doctors in that, you know. Yes, so that makes a huge difference. So I feel very blessed that she lived around the corner, which was even more important, because at that time when I couldn't get off the couch and drive, you know, I couldn't get back to where I'd only been in the hills for a couple of years. I didn't have my people set up, and I couldn't drive. So yes, Pam, very lucky. I say thank you every day after all these years. And she's getting to that point now. She's in her 70s now. She's not allowed to retire. How dare you even think of that? So she's not yet, but she's getting to that point where she may have to soon. And it's like I feel like I'm going to be losing part of me, because she has been a big part of my, where I am today, you know?
Yeah.
So this is coming back to that. How can you be seen or heard? Again, through art. So like now, is it art that you want to take out to the public? Because sometimes you have a message you want to share to the public. Or is it just doing it for yourself?
Yeah.
As you said, how can you hear what's coming through to go on paper? Does it need to make sense? Perhaps it doesn't.
You know what? I don't think it does. And if we really do look around at all of the varieties of art. And I know that I have been to art gallery shows, and you know, the artwork is incredibly powerful. Not necessarily something I would want to hang on my walls, but
Yes.
the message is there.
Yes.
And
That's right.
especially when we look at those artists that tackle really, really
Yes.
deep subjects like abuse, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or war, or right, to translate that into a message. You know, the message is powerful, but the art often will then make us uncomfortable, right?
That's right. That's right. Because I saw we have a wonderful program here in Australia. What's she called? Oh, she's the most out there woman with her hair all like this and color, and she wears the most colorful pattern things. But she brings to light different artists around Australia, and it's really fabulous. I'm so glad I started watching it. And one of the programs was, like you're saying, a young woman was wanting to bring to light women who had been, can't remember, was abused or sexually abused or something like that. Or that, as you said, the power of that and the confrontation of that was like, we are telling a story here, hear this. Whichever way,
Yeah.
whether it created wow in the sense of, or made you cringe, or it was so powerful. And then we have another well-known artist called Ben Quiltley, and he was asked to go to Afghanistan, take sketches. He had permission to be there of the soldiers, then came back, and he also then did what you call it when they posed for him. Oh my God, it was like, boom, there you are. It just, if you didn't get that
Right.
message, if you didn't hear what he was saying or seeing, it was like, whoa, you know, very, very
Yeah.
powerful. And the fact that these men, he didn't always show their face, so you didn't know who they were necessarily. But the fact that they had the courage and the vulnerability to put themselves out there so people could hear, see, like you said,
Yeah.
evoke,
Yeah. Evoke
something, you know. And yeah, and it's when you do put it out. So like here through art, I suppose I do it more through words at the moment, through posts and my Substack blog. You know, you want people to hear. You want, as you said, you want to make a statement, but also you're making yourself vulnerable to people criticizing, not just critiquing, criticizing, and that's really hard to hear. And how do you support yourself? So how would you support yourself, or anyone who's watching, how would you support yourself in this?
Ugh. I think were I to do that, something that was going to be that evocative, knowing that there would be the criticism, I think I would have to decide beforehand
Yeah.
to either to have just a flat, like a standard kind of response, or no response at all, right? Because we do have to remember that, I mean, in those regards, so art is powerful across the board, whether it's beautiful florals or whether it is something that depicts the, you know, the horrors of society. It is powerful. And sometimes I think it's even more powerful in its ability to communicate that simply because it's visual.
Yeah.
Like there isn't anything that needs to be explained per se, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Knowing me, I would probably stew about a critique and but ignore it.
Yeah, that's
You know,
that's right.
call up my bestie and go rah rah rah, you know,
And
but
I love
not
that, because
respond,
yes, because I can see the stewing, the bubbling away, because that's it's and
right?
it's something, it's how do you handle the fact, it's what I've been learning, that when something hurts or stings, how long do you stew on it? because of because sometimes
Yeah.
we can stew on it for way too long and make it ourselves, and we personalize it, and we are bad, not
Totally.
good, like you said. How do we respond back to that? How can we separate ourselves from it? Because I had something happen just recently, and it was a sting, but I really realized it was said more about them than me. But how could I separate myself and say that particular meditation that they slammed, literally they slammed it, was actually not for them? But how can I separate myself and look at all the others that had thought it was wonderful?
Well, and there we go too, right? We focus on the one person or the two, not so positive comments versus all of the others. I guess I would think a shift in perspective. And to
Yes,
know that you're going to do that, you may be triggered, which honestly just means that you're going to get to bring out a part of yourself into the light and learn how to let it go, how to
that's
deal with
right.
it,
That's
right?
right. That's right. That's
So
exactly right.
Pam commented.
Yeah.
She said, I've seen a couple of comments on our videos. We go live on Friday nights and talk about space. To me, that is a sign of reaching success. Oh, someone took the
Yes.
time to be critical. My response is to say, yay, come and help us do better. And I never hear back.
Yes.
Oh, kind of
Yes.
sad about that. We'd like a variety of people on our show. See, now there's a perspective
Yes.
that I didn't have. Thanks, Pam.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're funny. And she then said, I saw something about celebrities. They look at the picture, the length of the article, and don't read it. That seems pretty wise to me.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I guess so. There is that too, right?
There
How
is
do we do
that too.
that when we're trying to build our following and stay within the algorithm, right? On Instagram, I guess, or on just ignore it. Yeah.
I think so. And I think it, as you said, it can be, like you said, took the time to be critical. I agree. And I've heard that too. What did someone say to me the other day, which didn't help right at that point, was you've touched someone like this, you've created a reaction to them. And I went, yeah, okay, but
Yeah.
not quite that one. Thank you very much, but that's okay. And I suppose when you can look back again, I've talked about this in the toxic positivity, I can look back and, like you say, see it for what it is. So again, there was a learning. At the time I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
There was a blessing to go, says more about them than me. How can I respond to this? Yes, it was a reaction. Yes, it didn't. I can't change the meditation, because when you put them on Insight Timer, it is what it is. And there's no
Yeah.
right of reply. All I can do is reply back. But I couldn't ask, well, what was it you didn't like? Because they can't
Yeah.
respond back. So it's like, don't just dump, like, Pam's saying here, and never hear back. Well, then don't just dump it. Why don't you give me what it was? That would be useful. So again, but is
Yeah.
that my expectation? Had a thought. Perhaps they need some healing as well in some way, and who doesn't these days? That's right, Pam. Look, I agree with you. And that's when I could step back, I realized, yes, there was something happening for them on that day. That's how I saw it. Yes, they do need, yes, that's right. So,
Yeah.
and you sort of wonder nowadays, because you can, how you have, they call them the keyboard warriors, whether it's because you are, they just come out, it had annoyed them what I had done, right, let's just blah, 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 and just they, without thought of what was actually, where did it come from? So yes, but it's a, yeah, it is what it is, and it hurts. Let's be real.
Yes. Yeah, it can sometimes. Well, I mean, it's when we're putting something out there, and this would be true for anybody, especially if you're creating it yourself, it's attached to you somehow.
That's right. That's right.
So I think it does take a lot of practice, a lot of conscious thought and interaction to just not take it personally. I mean, if you're a part of the public realm, then it's going to happen, and oh well. I just don't know that I would be so good at remembering that right away.
That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. And I think it's, again, we all want to be heard. We all want to be seen. We all want to be all that. But like you said, I know all the logic, I know all the tools, but in that moment, it stung, in that moment. And again, it's how, if I keep letting it sting me, then actually it says more about me,
Yeah.
So it's how can you not be Pollyannish about it, but go now. I mean, now it's a couple of days later, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm okay with it. Do I like it still?
Yeah.
No, of course not. I'm going to not pretend I like it, but it is what it is, and this is the thing with putting anything of yourself out there, however you do it, because it can be through making clothes, it can be through dance, it can be through jewelry. It's your baby. It's your, people forget that someone was behind that creation. I'm very aware now of comments I make publicly, or what in my mind, I might say, oh, actually, I really don't like that. But I never say it out loud because I have an appreciation. So I watched this with my partner when he was creating his jewelry. And there was just some of it, it didn't appeal to me at all. But what appealed to me was an appreciation of his idea, putting it in there, working with the silver, the gold, and creating these most amazing pieces. And I realized I didn't need to like it, but I could appreciate it. That for me was a turnaround.
Yes. And that, again, that's a very different perspective, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
And, but when our stuff is out in the public, not everybody has that perspective.
No.
And so I guess, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, what can you do?
And you can't. You can only work on yourself. And I think coming back to that with my partner, I mean, I was like the other before, that's what he taught me, was that. How powerful that was or is. And to go and look at art and have an appreciation of the person who put it behind there, So I have to say, I'm really proud that I've been able to do that, doesn't mean they need to know what's going on in my head. That's a different matter altogether. But yes, so, but this being heard, wanting to be heard, hearing is such a big topic. I do believe it's a skill. It's a practice.
It is.
We need to
it's true for others. I think it's equally true for ourselves as well.
Yes.
Right? To really take that time as well to hear ourselves, to really truly listen to what's going on underneath whatever if it's negative self-talk or what, it's like, take the time to just, see what's there.
Yeah.
Give it a little love.
That's exactly right. And that's what they say. And what was that? Sorry?
More space.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And sort of step away. And in whatever way you need to do that, it could be through meditation, art, walking, writing, whatever it takes to do it. But it's important to stay in the discomfort. But if you're still going through something big like trauma, it's also important to perhaps have the support there, like a professional as well. So, we need to do that with awareness. Because I didn't in the past. I just plunge in and then end up making it worse for myself until I learned to ask for help. And it's okay to do that, everyone. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay also to ask to be heard, because that's another thing I realized the last few months, where I didn't have my voice and I ended up feeling resentful about a couple of things. And I ended up in that depression. Well, then that depression made me hear myself. It made me realize what I was still not doing. So it was again, looking back, terrible time. Now it's like, okay, why is this happening? Why do I get these feelings of resentment? Now at least I know, okay, time to sit back, hear what needs to be felt, expressed, changed, whatever it might be. So, oh, thank you. Thank you for hearing. Thank you for listening, everyone, and for your comments.
Yes. Thank you. So nice to see Tammy and Pam were there, and I know Dawn was watching as well. So
Which is great. And I know Leonie will listen as well. So in the end, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week. And if you think of any other comments you wish to share, anything that sort of, you get a moment or an aha, please do pop it in there, because it's always lovely to read and to give. I can't speak for Rodine, but it gives us another perspective, doesn't it? So I'll say we anyhow, the royal we.
well, of course, yes. Include me in that.
Yes, I will. Okay, goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful
Bye,
week.
everybody.
Bye.